Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's PUREGLORYGAMING here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the game Doorways: The Underworld. Now, to be honest with you guys, I'll let you know right away, I was kind of let down by the game, but I'll get into that in a little bit. Pretty much, let's get into this, what the game actually is about. The game is pretty much a horror, it's classified as a horror survival game, which isn't really the case. It lacks both the survival and the horror aspects. Now, the reason for this is, first, let's get into like where you're at. What happens in the game is pretty much you're spawned inside of this like cave system where you have to figure out why you're there and what's going on. Alright, that makes sense. I totally agree with that. You should definitely have to figure out why you're there, especially if it's a horror game. That makes sense. The whole aspect of like lighting in the game, I like it to an extent. It's pretty dim most of the time, which, yes, that adds the whole horror element, but it's dim the whole time, and it just gets darker and darker, and you really never have a significant light source to figure out what's going on in the game. As far as that goes, in addition to that, the actual finding of what's going on in the game is pretty much a bunch of mini puzzles to figure out what your next step is. Now, this game does require a lot of backtracking, so what you're going to end up doing is you're going to be finding notes, and then you're going to be finding keys, and you're going to use those keys and those notes to get to your next place. That requires you to go back to that first place to then find something else and go back and forth. You're literally, like, here's one example. What you did is you opened up a door with one key that you found. After you did that, and you got inside that room, there was another door inside that room. Well, you had to go back to the first place to find a note, to go back into the middle place to find the file cabinet thing that had the keypad on it where you could enter in the numbers on the note. Now, if that doesn't sound confusing enough, well, it's not hard to do, but you're constantly just going back and forth in the map, which completely eliminates the whole scare factor, because you're never really exploring a lot of new places until you get past that first place. Now, as far as the horror aspect of this game, I wasn't really impressed. Now, personally, me, I'm not a huge fan of these horror games, but I figured I'd give this one a try. And honestly, the horror isn't there. You have random sounds, but they're not associated with anything that's actually correlating to the actual game. So you'll hear like a devilish, hellish scream going on, but nothing's actually happening. And you're sitting there like wondering, oh, is something about to jump out at me or something like that? But nothing does. So it kind of gives that false warning that something's going to happen when really nothing does. The animation of the actual hellish figures, the demons, whatever you want to call them, I don't think they're that good. I'll show you one in this video, but honestly, it lacks the horrific figure that most horror games have. If they were to use this sound, this lighting, and everything into one compact moment, a lot of times in the game, it would be really good. But as far as like the jump scares and everything, you kind of have a warning before a jump scare happens. You'll have like a flickering of lights, where usually I would think it'd be better if you had like a flickering of lights, nothing happens, and then later something happens. Like, that's a more common way to scare people because they're not expecting it. Like, you get their guards high, if you will, and then they let their guard down, and then next thing you know, something happens, and boom, they're scared. Well, that completely lacks this game. That's why I don't like the whole horror factor and the whole puzzle factor. Aside from that, the actual notes let you know what's going on in the game, but it does take a while to figure out actually why you're there and what you're playing the game for. You might get kind of bored of the game, to be honest, because you're constantly going back and forth and nothing's keeping you interested. With the horror aspect and the whole keeping you hooked into the game, the thing that I don't like is that if you die, you literally can just respawn and go back to 10 paces that you were before, right before that event happened that made you die. So let's say a demon attacks you or whatever, you'll instantly die, and literally you just respawn 5 feet before you actually met that demon, and you can just retry it. So there's not like you're losing a lot of progress, something that makes you want to keep surviving. In this game, it's like, oh well, I died, let's just move to the next step. We can just keep doing this until I figure out how to rush through this. Because honestly, all the game is. As far as how long I played through it like 2 hours, I'd say. And I've gotten decently far in the game. Not a huge fan of it, but it does bring some light figures of horror and aspects. I think the game isn't worth what you pay for it. And unless you find it on sale, I really wouldn't suggest buying the game. Rather than that, if you want to try it out, I will have a link in the description below. But if I were to rate this game out of 10, I'd probably give it about a 5 being average, so like your standard game, and 10 being way beyond like expectations. I'd give it like a 3 or a 4. It's honestly not that good. Anyway, guys, this pretty much concludes the game review of the game Doorways, the Underworld. Oh wait, I forgot to mention, with these keys and these codes, you open doorways. With these doorways, you open more doorways and more paths. Like, honest to God, why are there so many doors? But I guess that's why they call the game Doorways. Anyway, that concludes the game Doorways, the Underworld. If you want to check it out, the link will be in the description below. So make sure you do that if you want to buy a crap game. Don't know how to put it. Don't like the game. That's pretty much it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to drop a quick like on this video, share it with your buddies, and subscribe to stay up to date with the latest and greatest Call of Duty Advanced Warfare glitches and occasional other content like game reviews. Remember, it's been Pure Glory Gaming here, and I am out. Peace.